Welcome to Money Convos, where we discuss personal finance and investment tips. We're committed to helping people create wealth and achieve financial freedom. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. All right then, let's head into today's conversation.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another conversation on Money Convos. Just your friends having a regular chat about money and money-related stuff. And then, Danjo, I salute you, my chief. Today, I don't want to give you the usual title.
Sure, because I was looking forward to hearing about me.
I already texted you that a few hours ago. So
I know.
Charlie,
I'm doing good.
Oh, great. You know, I thought it just dawned on me. Do you ever listen to Peace FM? What's this guy's? There's this Kwame Sefa. Do you ever listen to his show in the mornings?
I hardly do. I think I've listened in one or like it's not something that I would say I do. Yeah.
Okay. So,
but
as I'm just thinking about the way we start off, right, and how I introduce you and things, it just reminded me of the way the sports section. Do you know Dan Kwekuyeboah?
That one. I feel that's for you.
Charlie, you see the way they give the fans in the beginning.
I tell you, I think for that show, that's the segment I think I get to see on Facebook or other places all the time. So even if I don't listen in, I watch it online because it's so interesting.
As far as my podcasting career goes, if I can get to Dan Kwekuyeboah's level of entertainment, I think I would have reached self-actualization.
I tell you.
That guy's too much. Anyway, but how are you doing though? I hope everything is okay.
Oh yes, by God's grace, we are managing.
Wonderful.
And it's so nice to see. It's so nice to see some classic man around.
You understand? Oh, you know this our guy. This morning, I had to send him a message that, my boss, please, we beg you, grace us with your presence today. Because the conversation we are going to have, it is in your wheelhouse. We need somebody to give some motivation. So we beg you. This one, I had to send some snap and things to him.
Hey.
You understand? You see, and you see that we started, but he's not even come up on stage because we have to send protocol to go and bring him up on stage. So maybe Mimi, please, we do that on our behalf. Try and bring Prince up. You see, we had to give him a prop. He was waiting for his, the drum roll for us to lay the carpet before he can join. Please, Abbas, we greet you, Prince.
Classic man. I don't go
Charlie, Charlie, we're crazy. When a man there, I learn from him. Just this weekend, I was learning from him. So it's always an honor to join us here.
Small boy, I wish I be corner.
And Ahmad has joined. Oh, everything nice and crisp, done. Right now, the sun is shining here consistently. It's interesting when you check in at least in the parts of the world where the weather app actually works and has some predictive power. The weather app has been so skeptical about how beautiful it is out here, how the sun is shining, because our winter is like 6 months. So every day it's telling me that it will rain the next day. Yes, the next day comes and I dress up for rain and it doesn't rain. Even the weather predictors don't believe that it can be so nice out here. So I'm happy. We as black people, when we see the sun, then we are happy.
I know, right? I know.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's great.
Yeah. Anyway, let me welcome Mimi. Mimi, how you doing?
Hi, I'm well. I hope I can be heard soon.
So well, let's get into today's conversation. It's it's interesting that I'm starting on such a light note when we're planning this conversation with our chief producer, Dennis. I told him, guy, listen, the title needs to be "Let's Get Serious," but I think we changed it later, and it sounds like I'm being jovial today. And this particular conversation is coming up from like when we have conversations like on the side, certain things that we discuss and we see people in comment section of other posts or tweets or videos when good information is going out to people, and it's like there's always an excuse. People always have excuses, right? So it came out of a point of frustration, and I hope we can get past the frustration and get to some solutions for people. And today we really want to tell people it's your mindset really matters. Having the right mindset matters. And part of that right mindset is knowing that there are no more excuses. Maybe, do you recall some many years ago when we were on Clubhouse? Speaking of which, we have to celebrate an anniversary one of these days, though. But yeah, when we were on the Clubhouse, we had a conversation about is it mindset or circumstances or something like that?
I can't remember.
Maybe mommy brain. Okay,
Oh,
but yeah, it's
we knew.
I quite remember. I'm sure if you go into the archives, it will be there. We had a conversation about what determines your outcomes. Is it your mindset or it's your surroundings or your circumstances? And one of the key takeaways out of that conversation was that two people can come out from the same home, can come out of the same circumstances, but one will go ahead to be successful and another would be unsuccessful. There's a story of somebody or if a family, two children, they grew up with an abusive father. One grew up to become as lazy and abusive as the father, a deadbeat, if you put it that way, and the other became what's it called? Successful, hardworking. Another anecdote of that story, another version of that story talks about how someone grew up with a father who was an armed robber or a criminal, and the two children, one became just like the father, a criminal, and the other became a policeman. So, and they all cite their background as the reason. I guess the key difference is the mindset. So we, spoiler alert, are leaning towards the mindset, and we want to have a conversation about getting us into the right mindset. And today we want to talk about excuses. No more excuses. All right. We will be discussing certain things that people, excuses that people give themselves to not get things done. Things that people would say are reasons why they don't get the things that they need done. You know, so we'll get into all those examples and see how we can overcome them. Great. So my first question to y'all is, what's the difference between a reason and an excuse? Or is there any difference, or they are all the same thing? Adam, I know you talk to a whole lot of people, especially in social settings. So when do you know someone is giving you an excuse versus giving you a reason?
Okay, Elike, this type of excuse and reason matter. It comes up all the time. Okay, so basically, I would say that well, a reason. How can I explain reason? Okay, let me explain the excuse, and then maybe we can pick reason from there. So okay. I feel like an excuse is a reason not to do something. I don't know if it makes sense.
But you know, so, yeah. You're done. You're finished. No, carry on. That's you.
Yeah. So if, like, for example, you give somebody, or like, okay, let's say, let's bring it to our money convo settings, and we've been talking about investing and what have you, and somebody is giving you all the reasons why they cannot invest. Meanwhile, when you study their lifestyle or their patterns, you can see clearly that these reasons are not good enough reasons. Okay, it's just an excuse, or it's just something that they are making up, or they are just trying to rely on this particular reason so that to make themselves feel good as to why they are not doing the right thing. And that is how I see excuses most of the time. It's normally something you can actually do something about. For example, okay, so somebody says, I don't earn enough. All right, you don't earn enough. Okay, that's a reason. That seems like a good enough reason. Now let's start probing what you spend your money on. And we see certain things that we know that, oh no, you say you are not earning enough, but maybe you are buying lunch from Papaya or Frankie's every day or every other day. Maybe you are picking Uber to work every time. Then you realize that all these things are becoming excuses rather than a reason, because we can see that no, if we do a proper lifestyle audit, you can actually adjust certain things and then be able to achieve the task of investing on a regular basis. So this is an example of when somebody gives an excuse where they are just trying to say something to justify what they are doing, because they are trying to just give a reason not to do what they have to do. But a reason can be, we could have genuine reasons. Okay, where, let's say, let me use the typical example where you're supposed to be at work at 8 a.m. and then probably you're coming to work and then there's a massive accident. Maybe you're coming from Tema, you're coming towards Accra, there's a massive accident on the motorway and it has delayed you. You know that normally the commute will take you probably an hour and 30 minutes. You set off maybe even 2 hours before time. But this is there's a serious accident that has taken everybody by surprise, and then we end up getting to work late. There's a reason why you are coming to work late. It's not you are not making up an excuse, because genuinely there was no way you could have anticipated that some of this event would block you for that long. So you left home early, maybe left home at 6 a.m. and the accident has taken time, and you end up coming to work at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. That, I can say, it's a reason why you are late. You are not making up an excuse. It is a genuine thing. Yeah. So I think when I look at these two examples, I think we can clearly distinguish reasons from excuses. I mean, that's how I see it. Yeah.
Those are some really good points. This is where someone will say, some people will say they have a nose for bullshit, right? So these ways that you're giving us show how we can separate excuses from reasons. For me, I would even summarize it as, is this something you could have done something about? You know what you're supposed to do. We all know the end goal. And there's a situation at hand. If you could have done something better, if you are in a position to do something about it, then you're just giving me excuses, So yeah, that's a very good point. You've explained for us. Okay, that's great. So there's a certain book that someone gave me some time back. I don't know if you all have seen this book before. It's No Excuses. And guess what? I've read so many books, but I've never finished reading this book before. It's a book by Brian Tracy, The Power of Self-Discipline, No Excuses. And the simple reason why I've never finished reading this book is that when I read small, then I'm gingered to stop reading the book, stop spending my time reading the book and go and do other things I have to do. So I've just never finished reading that book. One day, I'll finish reading that book. But yeah, it's a really good book. I remember Gillian Hammer, where I used to work back in Data Bank, the chief marketing officer. She used to let her team members read books, and this was one of the books that she advocated for. Really good book. So if ever you are lacking motivation to get something done, go read that book. All right. So Mimi, I'm curious, right? How do you react to people who are just giving excuses? And let me lay some context down. This is something that you know for a fact that other people have done it before. So like, why is this person telling me what they are telling me? How do you react, Mimi? Mimi, if you are speaking, you're muted. I think Mimi may be commuting, so we may get her intermittently. But yeah, Adam, you want to take a stab at this and I chip in?
Hello, Elikem.
Yeah, Adam.
I was distracted a little bit. The question again.
Yeah, so how do you react to people who give excuses, especially when it's something clearly that other people have been able to do, but they are just giving excuses?
I think one of the things I don't do too well with is taking people's excuses. Because like I feel you should be able to think around a lot of things most of the time. So, like you are saying, if there's clear evidence that, or there are clear examples or scenarios where similar situations, we give a tax to somebody, and then your subordinates or your team members, something, you're giving some tax to people, and then you know that this is how people have been able to achieve this particular task over the period. And then you have somebody who is giving you all the reasons why it cannot be done because they are facing X obstacle or Y obstacle. I feel that even excuses or so-called obstacles are reasons to make you pause and to be innovative and find a solution to a problem. Okay, so I don't normally react very well, especially if most of the time, if I'm delegating something to somebody, it's because I know I can do it, but probably I don't have the time. Okay, so I know I should be able to do that. So if you are giving an excuse, it marks off as you are trying to make me feel unintelligent or something. Like, I don't know. I don't like that feeling I get when I get an outright excuse. I would rather prefer getting an honest answer. I won't do it, or than to get an excuse. Yes, that is how I prefer. I prefer an honest. I won't do. But in our part of the world here, I think people feel like, oh, I'll be hurting his feelings if I say I can't do. So they would rather give you excuses than to rather tell you the truth. And then you are running with this thing in your mind thinking that, oh, this person will be able to do it, but then you're just finding excuses all around the place, and then in the end it disappoints you. So I don't like excuses generally. Yeah.
Now, I was trying to go a whole episode without giving a Dave Ramsey reference, but I'm sorry, I can't help it. So Jade Washer, one of the hosts there, right? And the way the show is people calling with their problems and then they try to give them solutions. And one of the co-hosts for it says, when it comes to these things, solving problems, you can tell me you won't do it, but you can't tell me you can't do it. And as I look here at the people in our audience and on stage, I see so many people who've overcome many things that people would have given up on. Let's take Douglas, for example. Where Douglas is right now, you understand, sitting somewhere in a nice investment bank, hustling his way away in London. People will look and go like, oh, he's different, oh, he's exceptional. But he had the same challenges, if not even worse challenges, because he didn't grow up with a silver spoon in his mouth. You understand? So what's some people's excuses, right? I see Prince. I'm sure Prince will give us his own story. He's told us a couple of times, but it'll also be good to talk about the challenges that we've overcome, right? So I think at this point we want to get people to move from the place of making excuses. One of the ways we can do it is let's let people know the kind of challenges we've overcome. All right. So Prince, do we have you?
Yeah, Ellie, I'm here.
Wonderful. So, Prince, can you just give us an example or two of a time when you went through certain situations that anyone could have given excuses, but you just persevered, or you saw things in a different way and still got things done rather than give excuses?
Okay, so one example I can give is, I think I've shared it here before. I lost both parents at a younger age. I think I lost my mom at 13. I lost my daddy at 14. Yeah, so had to go stay with an auntie. We were four. My auntie also had 4 children, so that is 8, right? And we have to all stay with her and stuff. So I got to understand one thing, that I said to myself that here is the case that I had finished BEC, and I had to go to the SHS. Yeah. So one thing I said to myself was, now you don't have a mom and a dad that you are staying with. You are arguably I'm staying with somebody's parents. So I'll make sure that whatever opportunity I get when it comes to school, I'll make sure I give it my best shot. That is something I said to myself, right? Yeah. So this is something that has guided me up till this time. I know there are people who face a similar experience, losing both parents, but they are on the streets. But I'm quite fortunate to be here. And first of all, gratitude goes to God. But I also feel that certain things that I put in that also brought me this far. So throughout my education, I make sure that anytime I get opportunity to be in school, I make sure that I give it my best shot. So right from JHS up till now, I never did any receipts of any kind growing up, and it is one thing that I said because I felt these are somebody's mother is taking care of you. If you go and get a receipt, if you have to go and pay again, are you sure this woman will get that money to give you to go and pay again? And it was more like you were in competition with the award who was also just my age. So I wouldn't sit down and go and take an exam and fail, and maybe the daughter, and it will be another wahala on my head. So right from the get-go, I said this to myself, and it has guided me. Never written a receipt before. I've been to school, done a lot of professional courses. I never, and it's not like it's something that automatically works out. I don't know, but it's something that automatically works out because when it comes to the book, I'll make sure I'm reading. When it comes to whatever I need to do to get to pass the course, I make sure I do it, and the results just come naturally. Yeah. So for me, I think it's something that that has helped me to live by up to this time.
Prince, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt at this juncture. Even though you had ended, there are some things that I won't agree to. You said naturally you pass. I was talking to Prince just last weekend. He had spent 6 hours straight learning, and you are telling us things come naturally.
That is that I'm saying that as for the learning, I will learn. But you see, it has become. Oh no, Ellie, as for the learning, I will learn. Okay. Because I know that, because let me take for example, like the course I'm doing now. Okay. If the course book is $4,500, the exams is $400. The exams is $450. That's the book, and then the exam is $450. That's to sit for the exams. Okay. Now, imagine I don't study and I go and write and I trail. I'm going to pay another $450 to write a paper. You get me? So I wouldn't get that luxury. I won't get that amount of money to say I'll play down, don't study, and then go and write, fail, and then go and recite again with another, and go and pay another $450. I'm in Ghana, so you know what that means. You get it? So that is something that growing up, it has been with me. So for the studying, I'll study because I know that I don't want to go and write this and fail. I want to go and sit, write it once, and then get it sorted, and then I go my way. So for the bit that I need to do there, I do it. And I think now I have a lot of time at my disposal. So learning there is something that I do my best when it comes to it.
Gotcha. So for me, and I wanted you to harp on that because many people always give excuses. Many people could be in your setting and people could say, well, look, the end of the quarter is coming. I have reports, so I can't go and learn. I have this other responsibility, my family, this. I have to travel here. I have to do this. I have to do that. Especially after like five years after university, when you are still learning, like if you don't pass an exam, people get it. We understand you have responsibility, right? But it's about overcoming all those other reasons why you will not succeed, right? Prince, were you saying something?
I'm saying it's not easy. It's not easy
at all.
when you are working and all these deadlines, going out there to market, come back, chasing premiums. This client, you did this for this client, the client comes back, I want it this way. So the kind of distractions coming in, and you want to also have a social life. So if you want to watch the EPLs more, if you don't take time, you sit there in the morning. By the time you realize it's 8 p.m.
So, if you got a ball, you watch who.
I tell you, so if you don't, be quite hard on yourself to stop certain things. And know that there's really, a light at the end of the tunnel. You can't do you can't learn actually, and maybe some of these courses they are time bound. You learn for about 2 months, you have to write an exam. So if you don't put yourself in that check, you sit down and the month will just come pass. Then by the time it's time for you to write exams, and you are not prepared, and you go and you feel it. It's so I think fair enough. You just have to be looking at how you find yourself. If you are working and you want to school, you should be very disciplined to know when you are reading, know when you are portioning time for certain things, so that at the end of the day, you go and write your exams and pass, and you get along. Yeah.
This point you mentioned about the time-bound part of the exam, it's not like back in formal education or school, like undergrad or high school, the term is fixed. You have to go and write exams. With professional exams and all these qualifications, there's some flexibility. You get to choose when you want to do it. But I've noticed that people who take the courses that it's easy for you to reschedule your appointments. A lot of people reschedule. But you take exams like the CFA, where it's going to be expensive for you to reschedule, if possible at all. You just lose your money, right? So with those ones, people have to force themselves. And I just want to quickly share, or not quickly, I'm probably going to go on a rant, so pardon me. There was a time when a manager came from a meeting. This is when I was much younger. They were talking about doing a software migration. There was an intense project going on at work, and we're talking about deadlines for it. And my manager came back from a meeting and said, "Oh, hey, listen, well, this is what they said we should do." And I'm like, "Wait, this doesn't seem tight enough." And I asked, like, "Did you guys talk to people about it? Blah blah blah." And they're like, "Well, they shouldn't use Elichem as a benchmark." And they're like, in management meetings, they just tell people not to use Elichem as a benchmark. Yeah, okay. So someone will bring up an idea. Well, why don't these people do this, that after Elichem? And they go like, please, Elichem is not normal. Don't do that. And it's interesting, of course. It's a compliment. But on the other hand, I'm like, guys, are we serious at all, right? So let me give you a few examples. What are we talking about? So after undergrad, I did my securities license and exams during my national service. So that was the first year after school. And some people did not do it. Some people did it. They could have whatever reason. But if you want to keep your job and you know the industry that you are in, and you know it requires a license, should you not be prepared before you wait till the end of your national service? And now you come to ask, will you guys retain me? No, what's your excuse all this time? You had 9, 10, 11 months to prepare for this day. Yet you didn't. Okay. Then next thing, took on the CFA. I registered for the CFA must have been in August or September, but we're doing this software migration. My career took a different turn. My role was changed. Now they said the promotion that I just got, don't let it kick in until I finish that project. So I was like, wow, that's not fair, but okay. So grinding for months, I was barely sleeping. I used to work 18-hour days. And then my manager at the time, Anastasia, in January, she made us write a mock for the people who had registered for the CFA. And the results were horrible. That was my wake-up moment. And I was like, nah, bro, this is not me. I don't write exams and feel poor like this. What am I going to say? There are no excuses allowed. So despite me having to work 18-hour days, and it was really, I had to alter my working hours because certain intricacies of the software. You can't do certain things while other people are in the software. So I used to actually work all night, leave the office around 5 a.m. and then return to the office around 9 or 10 a.m. Do all these gimmicks just to get work done. And yet I had the CFA exam in May. So how you go do it? I sat down and structured myself and said, no excuses allowed. I will squeeze out every ounce of time I can get to achieve these two goals, win at work and win in the CFA. And I passed the CFA. All right. The other people I started the journey with, or who started the journey a little before me or after me, and a lot of people are falling by the wayside. Myself, I fell out. I haven't completed it yet, right? But when I hear all the excuses that people give, why they couldn't put in the time, there are people who would genuinely put in the time and effort, and they won't pass because the pass rate is like 43%. And there are people who didn't put in the time, and I had a friend who wrote and he came back. He was like, Charlie, the thing didn't go. I'm like, why didn't it go? In fact, he even came to me and was like, Charlie, the thing you said earlier about it being a marathon is true. You can't try to cram the thing. You have no excuse but to figure it out and start learning well ahead of time, right? So there are always excuses, but people keep doing impossible things or what people think are impossible. And for me, I feel like there's really no excuse. There are certain things that it's true. Obstacles are in your hand, in front of you to make it more difficult for you. Yes, but what are you going to do about it? Earlier on, I asked the difference between excuses and reasons. And for me, I think what I used to discern between the two is, and so what? When I ask people this question, and so what, some people will get offended, but it's not about, no, it's not about being, it's not an insult. It's not being offensive. Okay. You were going to work. Yes. Your car broke down. And so what? Like, it's about the result. What did you do about it? And so what really is, you need to keep asking ourselves, then what am I going to do about it? This has happened. How am I going to react? In fact, proactively, what can I do proactively to prevent these things? You know, you are supposed to go somewhere on the next day. Can you plan your route? I remember my first day at work just last summer. I was in a new city, new office, and I said, oh, well, let me just drive to the office to make sure I know where the office is at. Lo and behold, on my way there, I was using maps and all that. I got lost. The next day, I got there and I got there on time because I had gotten lost the day before. These are some of the things that we can do, okay, to prevent all these excuses. So really, for me, there have been many experiences, and these are just a few. But I also want to hear a few more experiences, maybe first. Let's see. Sarah, do you have any experience like this where you've overcome things that people give a lot of excuses about?
Hi everyone. It's been a while I spoke on here. I wanna
welcome back, Rich Auntie Sarah.
Thank you. I maybe my mommy. And so what mommy. Is a little bit controversial mommy. And see that I remember when I had my first son. I think within the period in which I was on maternity leave, I joined a number of WhatsApp groups with new moms and whatnot. And the trend there was a lot of people, because they had become moms, and again, not to, a lot of people, because they had become moms, had put their they had stopped working, or they had, and I got tempted. I'm like, Charlie, I can't, especially when my maternity leave was almost over. I thought like, no, I couldn't, so I have a child now, blah, blah, blah. And I always thank God for my husband. My husband sort of spoke sense into not spoke sense, but was like, say, this is not you. I know you end up resenting me if you should end up staying at home. So like, get off it. And I don't want to say that people use that as a reason, but maybe this is too controversial, but I really don't see it as pregnancy, childbirth is not a disease. Like, I don't see it as Elikem. Let me pause here.
No. This table you are shaking, I really like it.
I don't want to shake this table.
No. This is a safe space. Oh, but I do get you.
Future, I will vie for future president. I don't want this video. This audio to be played. I do think so. Please, I will end my Enzo what story here. Thank you.
Okay, well, you have said a bit, and I think this is one of those situations where they say a word to the wise. It's enough. But yeah, I think I get that story that you are bringing and the experience in there. Mimi, how about you? Are you with us?
Can you hear me though?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay.
Yes, Mimi.
I mean, Mr. Furiata, because his wife would have harassed him if he had allowed this decision to go through. I think that for me, can you hear me? Because I can't hear anyone's voice.
Yep. Oh, we are all silent listening to your words of wisdom.
Okay. Okay. So for me, when it comes to really processed or I don't really desire or mean, I don't know. I've not really.
Hello, Mimi. Okay, we are losing you now.
Sat down to say.
Okay, I think we'll have to circle back to Mimi.
That this is something that I want to do. Like,
okay, I think. Hello, Mimi. Are you there?
Sorry, yeah, I'm here. I was just trying to change my internet. I don't know if you can hear me.
Okay, it's stable now. So please start again.
Okay. So first of all, I wanted to say, give some shout outs to Mr. Furiata. Because if he had allowed this his wife, today they will all be in trouble. So yeah, big shout outs. I think that what Sinram said is very dependent on what the person wants out of life. Some just want to relax and, just take care of their kids and they find fulfillment in that. Others, like Sinram, want to earn $1 million. So I think that really looking at where you were going, it may not have made sense for you. But maybe with them, they are okay with, I don't know, that. That said, for me personally, I believe that self-awareness is key to, being able to manage these things, because somebody like Elikem, you are a go-getter. I mean, it's in your blood. It's something that comes easier to you than the average person. For other people, it may not. So, for example, for me, if the thing that I'm doing is not something that I have owned, like I desire to do, I've owned, I've personalized it, I'm going to give it excuses when things get hard. That's what I've noticed about myself. But if it's something that I've decided that this one, no matter what happens, I'm going to get it done, forget about it, I'll keep pushing. So I think that it's also important to know who you are, because not all of us are, always hot all the time, but know who you are and really sit down and ask yourself, what you want out of life. And I believe that when people like me do that, you are able to pursue something without giving yourself excuses, because it's not just shallow. I mean, it's not just on the surface. This is something that you've convinced yourself that you really need to do. Like, so for me, doing my master's was very difficult. I had my son. I even had to give my son to like pretend as if I don't have a child, because I needed to. That school fees wasn't cheap. I needed to go through that school, so I forgot that I had a child for the period that even though we were living together, and I just pursued, that course till I finished it, as well as other projects that I've embarked on. If I didn't stop because of fear or failure, then it's something that I really pushed, regardless of the challenges around me. And I realized that for those things, these are normally things that I'm passionate about. So I've told myself that, like, I've placed value on those things. Otherwise, if I don't do that, and something is not important to me. So, for example, this what's the name of this course that Sarah went to do, doing her things.
ALX.
This ALX, this FMVA. Honestly, the reason why I applied for that course was I had a dream that I needed to do a course on something that would help me be more strategic. Like if I'm on a board, what skill sets am I bringing on board? So that was my reason for doing the FMV. I didn't sit down to think about, okay, this is the time that is required as a mother, as a worker, or as this that requires 40 hours a week. Is it something that I can do even if I sacrifice everything? Is it something that I can do? I didn't ask myself the hard questions. So when I started, I was waking up at 3:00 trying to finish this course, and I got sick twice, and I was just like, at the end, like, why? I mean, getting sick just got me to ask myself, you cried this course, what they call it? And that's when I stopped, So for me, I believe that if you are in the habit of, giving yourself excuses, you should really sit down and think about, your why you are doing something. If it's not strong enough, you may want to convince yourself of why you should go through, because I mean, it won't make sense for you just to be jumping mountains and valleys if it's really not something that is going to bring you value. You get it. So you really need to convince yourself so that you are able to, go through whatever life may throw at you.
I like what Mimi has just explained to us. It goes to show us that if we are assessing ourselves and we are giving excuses on something, we really need to do an evaluation. It's a good solution. So anyone listening, if you are giving excuses about something, ask yourself, you got to go back to the drawing board. Do you really want this? How badly do you want this? For myself, something I've been giving excuses for a while, flat stomach. But now, taking it serious. This morning I went for a run again. So, no more excuses on that one. Anyway, I digress. That's on the lighter side. But yeah, it's important that the things that are important to us, we take them seriously and let there be no excuses. Like, there are many things to do in life. And Mimi mentioned that for somebody like me, I'm very strong and I have a strong will and I get these things done. Interesting thing is that there are so many things I don't care about. So part of what would help us in being serious and taking life more seriously is we need to prioritize. We need to know the things that are important to us. So we need to assess. If your career is somewhere that you don't want, that you don't like it, put it as a priority. If your money is somewhere that you are not happy with, prioritize it. If your spirituality, your relationships, your family experiences, whatever it is, put that as a priority and take no prisoners. Take that thing seriously. Give no excuses. Other areas you can just slack off and just know that, you know what, it doesn't really matter. In that way, you don't have to go hard on all, what's the right term? Burn all cylinders or something. Go full throttle everywhere. You get areas of your life that you can slow down and areas of your life that you can really go aggressive on. Yeah, thank you, Mimi, for explaining that. So, next thing is I want to give some excuses that people have been given, and I'll call on a few people to just give reactions, what you would say in response to that. All right, but before we do that, I remember in the marketing department some years ago there was a quote on the wall, and I looked it up today and I found it. I've just put it there in the reply. When people talk about excuses, one of the excuses they give is, "Oh, I don't have a talent." If it was about talents, then me, I don't do anything because me, I can't sing. Me, I can't do anything. The dancing that I can dance is only in the darkness. You understand? So I don't have any talent. Else, if that were it, would I be here now? However, this particular, should I call it quote, or this post or a list, it talks about 10 things that require zero talent. One of them is being on time. I just rattled the list. Being on time doesn't require talent. Having a work ethic, just being hardworking, getting work done, doesn't require talent. Putting in effort doesn't require talent. Sometimes just showing up, they say pick this hole, you pick the hole. They say cut this grass, you just cut the grass. It doesn't require talent. Your body language, this one I think it requires some learning, but body language, showing enthusiasm, being open, all that doesn't require talent. Energy doesn't require talent. And Mimi touched on that. You need to know what will bring you energy. Attitude, having the right attitude. Oh my. I could give a whole sermon on attitude, but let's keep it moving. That doesn't require talent. You don't need any degree to have good attitude. Passion. Passion, I would say some way. I don't like the way passion is said in pop culture, but passion, being enthusiastic about something, doesn't require talent. Being coachable, this matter. Being coachable. If you are struggling with being coachable, look in the audience, look for Douglas, look for the ninja. That's Dennis. Yes, ask them about it. They'll teach you about being coachable. Doing extra, just going the extra mile, just doing a little more, doesn't require talent. If you are working 8 hours, just work an extra 30 minutes, an extra hour. Doesn't require talent. Being prepared doesn't require talent. You know you are going into a meeting. They shared some documents ahead of time. Just prepare. Even if they didn't share anything, ask questions. These days with ChatGPT. Anyway, being prepared doesn't require talent, right? So there are so many excuses people can give, but I don't think we should be accepting those. If you are listening to this, I'm sure you are halfway there. You want to improve your life. You think things can be done better. I can assure you that whatever challenge you are going through, whatever obstacle you see, whatever reasons you think there are to not do what you have to do, I can assure you it's an excuse to somebody. It's a reason to you. So how do you turn this into something that can be considered an excuse and get it over and done with? Okay, so speaking of excuses, there are some people who make up excuses because they fear. Adam was explaining why people give excuses, some to look good, and some people also just are plain afraid. They're afraid of trying something to fail. Adam, what would you say about people like that?
Malikem, I think we all need to overcome our fears if we need to achieve what we set out to do, because fear can actually put you in a very bad place. So I remember I didn't learn how to drive very early. All my problems was I was also afraid. And that
they
time,
know the steel car. Motown boy, you know the steel car.
I'm a good boy.
No. It's okay. Let me mute my mic because you're spoiling the brand.
You know, one of my biggest problem was clutch balancing. And and one of my worst fears was when you are trying to set off on a hill and then you don't balance well and then your car starts tracking downwards. That was one of my biggest fears. It took me a while to overcome it, you know. But now, I mean, you should bring any manual car, you see me drive like a pro, you know. So, I mean, I realized how that almost sets me back at a point in time. One day I just said, you know what is this? I mean, I know all these people who do this, and what is it what is so unique or what is so different about them that I can't do it? And that was just all it took. You know, it's funny, and the brain it's a powerful, very, very, very powerful tool. And fear is a lot, it has a lot of things to do with the mind. So when in the mind you are afraid, you actually you are not able to see ways around it, because fear just blocks all the opportunities or the ways around solving a problem. So anytime you are afraid, it prevents you from seeing opportunities. It prevents you from seeing better ways of doing it or alternative ways of doing it. So it's very important that we overcome our fears. Once you overcome fear, you are able to now see things for what they are. That, oh, this is just a challenge. Maybe if I try it this way, it's fine. And another thing you can always tell yourself, especially when you are afraid to fail and then you think that people would laugh at you or because of fear of what people will say. One of the things I used to encourage myself, when I'm walking around, the failure is not written on my forehead. So if I failed at this particular endeavor, I don't carry it around as a badge if I'm walking around. If I should tell you maybe I failed some exams while I was in school, is it written on my face? You wouldn't see it. Even though I didn't fail any paper, right? But I mean, if I should have failed, it's not on my face. So even if you are afraid, one of the things you should ginger yourself with is the fact that, so what? I mean, this is where you can ask that question, that so what? I mean, if should I fail, so what? Or even if I fail, what is the way I can get out of it? Then another way you can look at it is, what if you don't fail? That's also another question you can ask yourself when you are afraid. Because if there's a chance of you failing, there's also a chance of you being successful. So what if you don't fail? So why do you think that the failure is your portion, but the success is not your portion? So when you start to think in this direction, then you realize that no, you are actually gingering yourself, and you start to see that the challenges and the obstacles start to fall before your eyes. So it's a lot to do with the mind, and we need to psych ourselves a lot, especially when it goes to do with fear. Yeah.
Those are really good strategies you've suggested for us, Adam. I think Sarah wants to add on to those strategies.
Yes, thank you, Eliken. One thing I've found myself saying a lot of is, what have you got to lose? So I tend to have my friends or people around me think more highly of me than I do of myself. So I get the likes of Mimi sending me roles of country directors of certain institutions, roles, and which are roles I would never, consider applying for. I get my friends forward me roles from IFC, and these are things that I wouldn't on my own consider applying for, because I'm like, hey, I'm not qualified, or I can't do it, or this is beyond me. But then now my mantra is, and so what? Like, what's the worst that can happen? What have I got to lose if I apply and they don't take me? Like, who even just as Adam said, have they written it off my forehead? So that is what I keep telling people now. When you see a role like, and they're, this thing is above or is beyond me, then my question is, what have you got to lose? Whether if they won't take you, they won't take you. Like, applying is not going to change. Not applying is not going to change the situation. But the point is, what if you apply and you actually are even shortlisted? It tells you that, like, there is something really, like, you are capable of something, even if you don't end up getting the role. It helps to even build up your confidence. So that now is my mantra. What have I got to lose?
Okay. What do you have to lose? All right. If ever I catch Saram in one of those, I can't do this, I'd ask her, what do you have to lose? It's funny that some of the people that we think are most qualified are the ones who will be saying this kind of thing. Because I wouldn't have imagined Saram would say such a thing. But to anyone who makes excuses out of fear, I can assure you, Saram is one of the people that we believe in most, and she's admitting what goes on in the background. Maybe only her husband knows this side of her. So what's your excuse? All right. You can always just ginger yourself, get out of it, and talk to somebody. Something that I would suggest for such a thing in terms of fear is baby steps. Just try. Just look, we were all children at a point. We were all born without knowing how to walk. And what do? We started crawling. We first sat up, then we started crawling, and then we started trying to get up. When we get up, we fall. We get up, we fall. Tell me which adult who is of good health can't walk. If someone can't walk, it's a health issue, but not because they can't do it. It's not because it's in their head that they can't do it. It tells you something about our capacity to do things we are afraid of. As children, okay, what if I stand and I fall down, I may hurt myself. You realize that a lot of times kids don't even, I don't know the psychology behind it, but they don't have that awareness to be concerned about risk. And that is something that we need to develop And it won't come at the snap of a finger, no. I know that saying this right now is going to be tough to shake out of it, but just start in small ways. I tell people, if you are struggling with public speaking, start reading the Bible in church. If you attend church, just start speaking up in groups, in a group of 5 people, not just your friends. When somebody is there that you are not so comfortable, just start speaking up. What's the worst that will happen? It won't be written on your forehead, right? So there's that. If you haven't taken anything away today, know that a whole lot of things won't be written on your forehead. In fact, if you how many people have things written on their foreheads? That's a good point. It won't be written on your forehead. Okay, remember that. Okay, this next one, let's throw it to Prince. Prince, I'm sure you deal with a lot of young people who are coming up in the industry and all that, or even young people in church or anywhere. One excuse that people give is, this work is not related to the course I did in school, or they didn't teach this in school. What do you have for that, for those people?
Okay, so for me, I'll say that everything is learnable. So far as you have the right skill, right mindset, and the right attitude, right? Arguably, some of the things that we studied in school, you wouldn't end up practicing the same thing on the job market. But as an individual, are you challenging yourself enough to get to understand where you find yourself currently? That has been something that I always tell people. Learning it never ends. Every day you learn something new, and even if it's not your field, the more the CEO of Twitter puts it in this way. When you are open to things, every skill is learnable. Let me put it that way, right? So I think if I'll use myself as an example, I have done a lot of reinsurance courses, but I had never practiced them. The one that I was doing was the normal placement with insurance companies. But when I move into my current role now I'm doing it more into details, getting to underwrite risk, property risk, to understand the inherent risk that comes with those kind of risks that we are assuming to insure and all that thing. Now, when I came, I saw that there are a lot that I could do to learn and catch up, right? Yeah. So I became very coachable, asking questions, getting to understand the field that I am in, and to learn, and did other courses that now I can say that it's all come together to, enhance my skill set. So you still don't have an excuse, even if it's not the course you learned, you studied in the university. You should just get your attitude right, get to be coachable, somebody who is going to mentor you, listen to the person, and make sure that you are learning on to be a master of your craft. And I think you will do well, because most of the things that we are taught in university, forget it. You wouldn't come. The job market is not like define this, explain this. It's quite different. It comes with experience. It comes with you walking the path of people who have been there before. And as they say, success is you can replicate success. So you shouldn't give that excuse that you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Just commit yourself to getting to know where you find yourself. Be a body of study wherever you find yourself. And I believe that with the right mindset, with the spirit that is willing to learn, you definitely be a body of skill wherever you find yourself.
Thank you, Prince. It's a good point you mentioned. If you really want something, every skill is learnable. A quick experience from me is all my life up until university, I wanted to be a lawyer. And I went to high school studying Christian religious studies, literature, French, and government. And then I ended up doing administration in undergrad. So many people will give such an excuse, but I didn't do business, I didn't do economics, I didn't do accounting, there were people giving those excuses, but I also finished with my first class. And in fact, in the accounting class, a lot of the people who were struggling with accounting actually did business, they did accounting in senior high school because they struggled to unlearn wrong things that they had been taught. So you also have some form of advantage when you are new to a skill because you are open to learning, no questions asked, just accepting it. Just your cup is empty, so it can be filled. You understand? So there's some pros to that. Sarah, you wanted to add on?
Yes. Also on this, because I did I didn't have any, I'd say, core finance background. I did my undergrad was focused on human resource management. I got to do my national service at Ministry of Finance because I was posted, or maybe there was some small community, but I was posted there. And based on engagement with my mentor, Edward Abrokwa, God bless him wherever he is, he thought that, oh, sorry, I'm like, yeah, you should try this stock exchange course. I did that. I passed that. He actually paid for it for me even during my national service. I passed that the first sitting, all subjects. Then that is what got me. I was then working. I started working with Fidelity as operations. Just after national service, you've gotten a job. Then I had told an exchange that I was looking for a job. So those times, I think brokers or investment firms would go and take a list from the exchange first, and then shortlist from there. So, and I scored really high on the courses. So they contacted me, UMB stockbrokers, and contacted me because that they got my CV through the exchange. I went for the interview, and then I felt like, look, this is where I want to be. I want to be in this industry. So immediately I got a job in there, went actively to do my master's. Then I went to the master's in finance and investment. And since then, it's been a lot of learning and reading, getting to know economics and all those things. And I am not up there, but I think I'm good. Dennis, you can attest to it. Yeah. So, and I think that it's possible. Like, it's possible. You don't have to and say that, yes, I didn't do that. I don't have extra. And so what? If this is where you want to be, you can actually learn and unlearn and be coachable, because it takes a lot of learning. And now there's information all over the place, so you don't need to even necessarily just sit in the classroom. There are so many things that you can learn. So I think it's really not an excuse what background you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. She's a living testimony that you can change course and be a master at what you do. Prince. Prince.
Yeah, so Serum is very good. It's very good. This afternoon, I called a family relation.
Did we lose Prince?
Looks like.
Oh, okay. We'll circle back to him in a sec then. Okay, great. Before I go to the next scenario, and I know time is far gone, so we'll start wrapping up, and then we can release you to go and watch Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid. Yeah. When we're talking about fear, something came up, and for people whose reasons for giving excuses is you are afraid to take on the risk, I want to remind you of a theme that has gone on. Excuses limit your options. And in life, you want to have so many options. Imagine you are looking for a job and you have only one option, versus you are looking for a job and you have 100 options chasing after you. All right. You want more options in life. When we don't have options, we feel stuck. We feel like we are not in control. So give yourself options. Excuses take away from options. When you start resolving the excuses, you get more options. And if you are afraid, another thing you also need to look at it from another angle. Okay. Whether you choose or you don't choose, you are making a choice. If you give an excuse and don't do what you have to do, what you know you have to do, and then from the top give a good definition for excuses, giving reasons why you don't do what you know you have to do. You know you have to do it. You understand? You know you have to do it, but you are giving reasons why you shouldn't do it or why you can't do it. When you choose that, you're just reducing the potential quality of your life. You know you are supposed to go to university, get good grades, come out and be more marketable. It doesn't guarantee you that you get a job, but it gives you a better chance that when they are shortlisting, they'll take you. yet you don't want to do that. You say you have a side hustle that you are interested in. You've just been saying it with your mouth. You, instead of going to the market and going to buy the materials and start testing it, you don't want to do it. You're coming up with excuses. You're always just talking about it. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. Whenever somebody's asking you, well, why haven't you just created a social media account for this thing so that you can just start going? You have an excuse, right? You are reducing the potential quality of your life. So you are making a choice between a better quality or a lower quality. And if anything is not evident, at least I know this particular thing I'm about to say is evident. If you have more money in Ghana, for example, we're talking about money Convos, so that's the standard we use. If you have money in Ghana, you have better quality of life. You will when you are sick, you get access to the best of hospitals. If you are stuck in traffic, the police will come and escort you out. If you have an issue, you can resolve it. If your family members need education, you can afford the best. So let us open up ourselves to more opportunities, more options, and just keep this in mind. The excuse you're about to give is only going to limit you and it's not going to open things up for you. And what you want is the world to be open up wide for you. Okay, great. So this last question is a big one and we would end on it. People who give excuses based on their family backgrounds. Let's say, oh, in my family, this is how we are. My father didn't go to school, or my father didn't do this, my father didn't do that, or this person in my family forced me. Family related. I know it's very strong. So at this point, I know there are many reasons why we could side with people, but at this point, we really want to focus on solutions. What solutions do we have for people who are talking about being bound to restrictions from their family, restrictions from their society, restrictions from what other people are doing? This one, I'll go around the table. Mimi, we haven't heard your voice in a minute. What do you have for them? Mimi, if you are speaking, you're
sorry,
muted.
anytime you have to take the question again. My kids are looking for the noise.
No problem. So my question is, for people whose excuses are, my family is like this, or my father didn't allow me to do this, my mother said this, they are bound by the shackles of how their society, their culture, their background. There's always some reason that is so big and looming over them. I know that some of these things can be justified, but we want to take the perspective of solution. What solutions can we offer to these people?
It's interesting because I think somewhere recently I was just sitting down feeling sorry for myself. In fact, I think my day hadn't started too well, and so I was just sitting down feeling sorry for myself, and I just opened X and found a message by Joshua Silman on strength. And he was talking about difficulties different people go through. And he something that he said that struck me. Like, you are really not the only person that has gone through it. Others have gone through it and they have made the most out of life. That life in itself, it's difficult. I think sometimes we perceive that life is easy for others. So when you tend to find yourself at some other, you give yourself excuses that other people had it easy. You are having a more difficult time. So you are justified. But he did mention, and if you read the story of a lot of great people, they had to fight all odds. All odds meaning different things to different, people. And so I would just say that life in itself, yes, your family may have gone through something. Your parents may have treated you, a certain way. You may have seen certain things, but really life is what you make of it. So how are you going to react? And I mean, on the same day that I heard this message, there's this lady in the office. that someone had introduced me to. So I signed up the lady, and she was very pleasant and, happy, and not happy, but she was just very pleasant. And she had this beautiful car. I was like, wow, you have a beautiful car. So, fast forward, I'm talking to another friend, the lady who introduced me to this lady. I knew that somebody had, lost her husband in their office, just to find out it was that lady. Like, I was so shocked as to how positive her energy, like, I felt like, you know what, like, you cannot make any excuse. Like, you need to make it work. So for that day, I just realized that, yes, life can throw certain stones at you. Life, you can be jumping mountains, valleys, whatever. But really, 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 it's what you make out of it. And you really have to just tell that to yourself and just fight, that temptation to feel sorry for yourself and wallow in self-pity. I feel like that's a way of keeping yourself behind. But if you dust yourself and decide that regardless of what life has thrown at me, I will push forward. Because when you push forward, just like this lady who probably didn't know how her smile has spoken to me, or has encouraged me, you would also encourage somebody, to keep up pushing. And at the end of the day, you would also see positive results in your life and be able to break what we normally call the generational curses.
That's a powerful way to end. I like that story. It just had me going like, oh, it's when you hear such things, then you ask yourself, what's your excuse? What is your excuse? If anyone should have been gloomy and having a bad day, definitely was that woman. Okay. Deram, how about you? What do you have to tell people like that?
We can't top that. Oh, Mimi said, so please. Mimi should end it for us. Mimi ended it nicely for us.
That's true.
But because really, it's the same thing. I think I used to talk to Mimi, telling her that, like, there are times that I felt, just having a bad self-pity, dwelling myself in self-pity, blah, blah, blah. But Charlie, you see what I personally know, what some people are going through close to me. And I'm like, Charlie, snap out of it. Like, you have no excuse. So really, you just have to snap out of it. Unfortunately, things have happened, your family, blah, blah, blah. But once you are about 18 years, you are probably no longer directly under their influence. You are at a point where you need to start owning your decisions and making decisions for yourself. So if you can choose to not leave, like, if you need to seek help, seek out for help, which a lot of us are doing or trying to do. But you need to you need to decide to either stay in that position or move on from it. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say something like that, and say you have less grace for people like that. For me, I was going to say maybe after age 25, you can't make some of these excuses again. You really can't, because it's about being mature. Like, after age 25, you would have voted at least 2 or 3 times, or let's say 2 times. You helped determine the future of our country 2 times. Hey, you are paying taxes. You're supposed to be mature, right? So you need to be aware. I think Mimi said something about either Mimi or Sarah said something about self-awareness earlier. And you really need to stop making excuses about things behind you. How are you putting yourself in a situation for other people to have so much influence over you? That's also a conversation you should be having. Is it because you are always going back to them to ask for stuff? Maybe you should stop asking for stuff. Maybe you start living within your means and being content with what you can afford. That way people can't put their thumb on you. So really, after an age, you have to be responsible. All right, great. Prince, how about you? What's your take on this before we go to Eden?
All right. So for me, I think that there's no excuse, because there's someone out there who is winning, who got it tougher than you did. So you really don't have any excuse. I think Bill Gates said it best. said when you are born poor, it's not your mistake. But if you die poor, it is your mistake. So you should get to understand that there's zero excuses, one way or the other. If you say you want to find 1,000 excuses for which you ended up in this family and not that family, you'll find 1,001 excuses, right? But Calvary is not coming to your rescue. You have to get out there and make things work for yourself. So let's actually put that family thing behind our back and let's forge ahead and make sure that we are creating the life that we want to live. And understand that most of these big people in this world most of them came from beginnings that were very not that comfortable, but against all odds, they have built empires and they have created businesses, and people are now leveraging on what they have done. So we here too, we have no excuses. Let's make sure that we are doing what it takes, persevering and making sure that we are going for the ultimate goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Prince. Thank you. Nice, succinctly put. No excuses. You have no excuse. If you die poor, it's on you. No one else. Adam, how about you? I could make it broader and just any concluding words from you.
Yeah, Elikem, so just flowing from how Prince landed, as for the family issue, you don't have control over it. Nobody chooses where they are born. I'm sure if we were supposed to have had a say in where we were born, most of us would not be on this call by now. But after that, everything is now in your control. I mean, like Zariam was also saying, right from 18 years going, I mean, you are now a matured person and you are responsible for your actions. So I think we should just take that awareness, have that awareness and move forward with it. When we say these things, it's not as if it is easy. We are not saying it is easy, but if it was easy, everybody would just do it simple and short without a problem. It's because if we have to say it then means that there is some amount of effort that you need to put in. That is why we are saying that we have to do this. So yes, we can acknowledge the fact that yes, we are from disadvantaged background. We acknowledge it. And then the question that follows is, and so what? So what we need to do is now take up responsibility for ourselves, work harder. It will just mean that maybe certain things that people have it, the way they have it, we don't have it that way. But eventually we can all arrive at a particular destination because we are putting our hands to the plow and we are working harder. And so in concluding, generally, I would just say that we have to just take responsibility for our lives and not also have a certain sense of entitlement. I think especially when issues about family and those things come up, we sometimes have a sense of entitlement. Okay, like I said, we didn't choose which family we are going to come from. So wherever you find yourself, make the most out of it and then press further. And if there are days when you feel down or dejected or something, I mean, just look for somebody who can encourage you and also surround yourself with people who will challenge you. Okay, who will challenge you and also push you to aspire further. And that one helps because sometimes when you are in a group with people who are not really going anywhere or people who are also just giving excuses and seeing challenges and pushing fear in you, you would not be able to come out of yourself and push further. You can barely rise above some of these things. So if you think that your environment or the people around you are not helping, change them to people who will inspire you. Come on Money Convos and receive a lot of encouraging words and ideas. And most importantly, put it into practice and take those baby steps, as we said, one step at a time, and eventually it will definitely pay off. Yeah.
And Bishop has taken all the words out of my mouth. I was going to give one last conclusion before we go, but Bishop said it all. So let me emphasize. Who you surround yourself with matters, okay? If you've not learned anything from today's conversation, you should know that there's a difference between reasons and excuses. And chances are whatever you are saying as a reason to somebody else, it is an excuse. If you know that you have an end goal that you should be achieving, and yet you are not achieving it, and you have reasons why you are not doing it, please, it is an excuse. Own up to it. All right. Now, because we know it's an excuse, that means somebody somewhere has overcome it. So the question for you is, how do I find that person who has overcome it? How do I hear their story? Maybe they are not alive. How do I read a book that they talk about their experience? How do I go around people like that who are inspiring? Start thinking about that. Start looking beyond your circle of friends. When you see somebody who is wise or speaking wisely, don't say this person is too known. Start thinking, maybe I should just go and sit near this person. Maybe I should just see how the person does what they do. You understand? And I would encourage you, here at Money Convos, you have a group of people like this. All right. For you could also take it further and get on investment friend. You have an investment friend, a friend who cares about you. In fact, those friends are two. In fact, sometimes even more than two when me and Adam show up. But Sarah and Mimi are your friends. Get on Instagram before you get distracted by all the social media stuff. Search for @investment_friend. They would help you go through anything that you are going through, especially related to money and your career and all that. Also, we are building a wonderful community of people who want to achieve things on Investment Friend. The community is growing. Just this week, Sarah was this week, right? You can just show an emoji. This week or last week, we welcomed more people into the community because so many people want to join the community. We see the messages going through, people encouraging each other, people bringing ideas. You want to be in those spaces. You need to start exiting. Don't just mute the groups that they talk nonsense. Exit those groups and come and join productive groups. It's not even just about the money side. It's about the mindset, forming the right set. That's the title of this space is getting the right mindset. Be around people who have the right mindset. And very soon you realize that you also have that same mindset. So on Instagram @investment_friend. And also here on X or Twitter, Facebook, wherever you listen to podcasts, YouTube, keep following Money Convos, share it, tell people about this, put the word out there. I'm excited about the next couple of weeks. At least I know that the next 2 sessions we will be talking about sharpening our minds, about education. We'll be talking about formal education and continuous education. So do stay tuned. Same time next week. We have some really interesting conversations coming up for you. And just for post credits, I should have mentioned this at the top. Would have been more interesting there. But this topic finally just drew my attention to how it's important because yesterday I had my very last class in Cornell University, and it's time to write exams. But anyway, my last class at the end of my 2-year MBA, and I was just reflecting. I was like, those who say education is not good, now I'm coming out of this as a way better person, right? And it's been a 2-year journey. It's been an interesting one, and there are certain experiences that I like to share with people. But let's in the next 2 sessions definitely tune in. We'll be talking a lot about education because it's important that we sharpen our brains, especially those of us in the knowledge sector. And even if you're in the trades, having some sense of wisdom and knowing how to apply knowledge would be really helpful. Even if you're in the trade, you work with your hands. How do you get to those the necessary information and the tools you need to succeed, right? We'll be talking about these things. So do come back same time next week, 6:30 p.m. GMT. Thank you all for making time. It's nice to have more of the gang back together. Sarah, Mimi, Prince. Nice to have you all join us. Thank you, Adam and Dennis, always being here. Catch you all later. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the week. Bye.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our thoughts. I hope you learned a thing or two and start practicing. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. Do tell a friend about Money Convos so we all become wealthy together. Talk to you soon. Bye.